Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers review. A Friday special for you, an afternoon roundup, if you like. We're here to discuss what was said in Danny Rohl's press conference, and there is some concerning news regarding injuries, and we'll also touch on the latest accounts, which were unveiled a little earlier on. So plenty to get our teeth stuck into. I'm joined by both Joshua, Barry and Blair from outside the Rangers training centre. First of all, Joshua, how goes it?
Fine, yeah. Feel like I've been looking at too many numbers today, looking at these accounts. We'll have a bit more of a detailed look at it on the website shortly, but I am warmer than Blair looks like he is at the moment.
Yes, Blair, you've been in situ at Danny Rohl's press conference. We'll get to that shortly. I can see your breath on your screen there. How you doing? A busy day for you?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening to everyone watching. As you can imagine, it is freezing out here in Milngavie for the Rangers training centre today at the press conference, where Danny Rohl was speaking earlier on. Obviously, the big news coming out of that is that lengthy injury list. So, yeah, it's a cold afternoon. Hopefully, the light holds out long enough that we can still speak to you, at least for a little while anyway.
Yeah, let's get to it then. I'll stay with you, Blair, because he was asked, we touched on it on the shows leading up to today about concerns over John Souttar and Derek Cornelius. John Souttar pulled up in the warm-up in Scotland's game against Denmark, and Cornelius hobbled off in Canada's game against Venezuela. And he gave an update on both of them. And unfortunately, there are a few others who have suffered injuries as well. Can you reveal all?
Yeah, not half, Derek. We turned up here today thinking that this was going to be a relatively quiet press conference, thinking we'll get a little bit of an injury update on John Souttar and Derek Cornelius, and then that'll be us. As soon as the first question was asked about those injuries, Danny Rohl said, well, it's a long one, I'm going to need a list, to which I think all everybody's ears pricked up and went, oh, what's coming now here? So we have John Souttar, Derek Cornelius, and the other one we weren't expecting was Mikey Moore. Those are the three real starting figures that are going to be out for a lengthy period of time. He did say today that he hopes to have John Souttar and Moore back by the end of December, and then 4 or 5 weeks, which roughly equates to the same amount of time for Derek Cornelius as well. Added to that, you have 3 other injury blows on top of that. Liam Kelly and Yusuf Chermiti, in the manager's words, are a question mark for Livingston on Saturday. Just following on from that, he did go on to reveal that Danilo will start tomorrow, so that suggests that Yusuf Chermiti will, if he makes it at all, will only be on the bench. And then really another troubling one is Bailey Rice. Although he's not featured a lot this season, Danny Rohl did say that he'll need surgery. So that's a real blow for the young player just trying to make his way in this Rangers team. Of course, his contract coming up to finishing as well. So what that'll mean for Bailey Rice's future long term, who knows?
Joshua, this is a massive blow. Not only, the centre halves, but Mikey Moore ruled out, as Danny Rohl said, he's probably looking at the end of December. Just when he was finding a bit of form, that is a massive blow for Rangers.
It is a massive blow, and in some ways it's not a massive surprise because muscle injuries happen quite often when you change manager mid-season, when you change a training regime and the intensity with which you play. Now, that might not be directly linked to these 3 muscle injuries, but it's hard to say that there's absolutely no correlation because pre-season has been conditioned for a very different style of play. All 3 of those individuals have played a fair amount of football before going away on international duty, and I don't think John Souttar has been in great form at all, but he's Rangers' most important centre-back on the basis of the minutes he's played. Derek Cornelius has probably been their best performer at centre-back this season. And as you say, Mikey Moore was coming onto a game and looked like their best player, really, in the brief flashes before the international break. So it's not ideal. It opens up questions as to who plays tomorrow. Clinton Encial is back training with the first team. Manny Fernandez has only started 2 games. Nasser Giga, I think, started well way back in August, but his confidence has looked pretty short since. And it looks like Rangers are really going to be tested in those 2 areas of the pitch. And that's before you get onto the blow for Bailey Rice, who, okay, maybe he's not been playing in the first team, but any hopes of him breaking in the next couple of months obviously are put right to the side, because not only has he had a bad injury, but that bad injury requires surgery.
Yep. Danny Rohl did touch on, as Joshua said, Clinton Encial. He also said, and we've seen in a video that Rangers posted during the week, Blair, that Dujon Sterling is nearing a return. Can you see possibly the 2 of those making an appearance on Saturday? Oh, we need to turn.
Like you talked about.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know if you can hear me there. He spoke about Dujon Sterling in the press conference today. He was a little bit more coy on that, to be honest. He said sometimes the player's rearing to go, but he maybe has to hold them back a little bit. Maybe has to just protect them from himself. So I don't know if he's maybe just cautious about throwing Dujon Sterling back in so quickly just because he's been out for so long with that injury. I asked the manager something that you and Johnny spoke about on the morning briefing this morning, all about Emmanuel Fernandez. I said, is this the opportunity for a player like him specifically to try and break into this team? Obviously, as you said, Emmanuel Fernandez, to many Rangers fans, isn't a project player. He isn't a development player. He's someone that's been brought in for a decent transfer fee, and a lot of fans will want to see him on the park. And the manager today said that he'd spoken to Emmanuel Fernandez. He's had those conversations about this is sometimes how football works. Sometimes turn of events lead the way you're not expecting, and you can just get your opportunity. So he did caveat that by saying if he starts tomorrow, if being the operative word. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the former Peterborough man in from the start tomorrow. And for all Rangers fans' sake, let's hope he grasps that opportunity and becomes a starter, because the positions are certainly there and up for grabs over the next few weeks.
Yeah, we'll see with you, Blair, because I know that the light is failing there. But one of the questions you posed to Danny Rohl was regarding bringing in a coach with a Rangers background. This is what you had to say.
At the moment, the setup is I'm very happy with my setup. When I arrived, I spoke about to have a former player maybe in my coaching staff, but I must really say Stevie stepped really up in this role from the academy. The good thing is with him, he knows the academy well, he knows the players. That gives us a good link to the academy, and how he act in the group at the moment is fantastic. And that's also the reason why I'm very convinced that we should go with this setup. Yeah, that means not that the door is closed or someone else. This is still part of our job. We are looking for the market, and we look what makes really sense. But I think I said this a couple of weeks ago as well, it's about content. And at the moment we have great profiles in my coaching group. And at the moment, yeah.
So there you go, Blair. What did you make of what you had to say to that? It looks like it's been put on the back burner, and Stevie Smith certainly stepping up.
Yeah, that was one that I asked the manager about, because I know there's been a lot of chat about that in every single podcast that we do in the morning. It seems to be, when is this coach coming in? When is this Rangers man going to be joining the sidelines? Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon in terms of a new face coming into the club. Danny Rohl, as you've seen there, was very coy about the idea of adding anyone new. Said he's quite comfortable with the staff that he's got round about him. But Stephen Smith has been impressing him in the way that he's stepped up and has been getting himself involved. So again, it wouldn't be a surprise to me if we've seen Stephen Smith make the step up into more first team activities, because Danny Rohl certainly seems to be a fan of the former interim manager.
Yeah. Anything else before we let you go and head into the warmth of note that you had to say?
Yeah, those are the key top lines from it. I think, Derek, there was a little bit of chat. Obviously, the big news of this week has been Scotland qualifying. Danny Rohl gave a little bit of insight into him, and his coaching staff went out to watch it, and he found it incredible, the atmosphere all across the country this week. And he said he was very proud of the players and what they managed to do on international duty, not just those who qualified for major tournaments, but also ones that got their first goal. I'm thinking about Oliver Antman, thinking about Jayden Migoma, who captained this country. So I think a lot of players, they achieved some positive things over this international break, but of course the main concern for Rangers is the lengthy injury list that they come back with into this very busy period of domestic football.
Right, good stuff. Well, Blair, we'll bid you farewell. Thank you for braving the elements and bringing you that Rangers press conference, and he's off ski already. So there we go. Done a sterling job today for us, and well done, Blair. So that was a bumper press conference today, Joshua, wasn't it? I mean,
it was
18 minutes long. And the headline news, if you are just joining us, folks, is Rangers have suffered a bit of an injury crisis. John Souttar, Derek Cornelius out for the foreseeable. Mikey Moore is out for the foreseeable until the end of December. Likely, Bailey Rice has underwent surgery. There are doubts over Yusuf Chermiti and Liam Kelly as well. It makes you wonder, what's been going on during this 2 weeks. It's understandable, John Souttar and Derek Cornelius, but the other lads, you're thinking, well, what's been going on in training there?
Well, I do think muscle injuries, this is like going back to conversations we'd have between Van Bronckhorst and Beeler and Clement. The reason Rangers had so many injury crises is I don't think there's enough appreciation sometimes for the, someone described it to me once before. You looked at the lack of injuries Rangers had under Steven Gerrard because it's the same as squad building. They built something up for a period of time. They knew how to manage players' injuries. Days off were the same. Recovery days were the same relative to the rest of the week. All these small details that when, similarly, if you're trying to overhaul a squad really quickly, when you maybe make a change like this and Rangers are running more under Danny Rohl than they were under Russell Martin, then sometimes this can happen, and it's not exclusive to Rangers. It'll happen to other clubs as well. But certainly through a busy December, I would be surprised if it's the last we've heard of the injury. Players being added to that injury list there. Mikey Moore is the one that's the real blow for me, because I don't think that I don't think Rangers have been brilliant defensively regardless. As I say, Derek Cornelius has probably been the better performer in that contingent for me. Yeah. The worry is that if Manny Fernandez has only been trusted to start 2 games so far, that would indicate that 2 managers have deemed him not ready yet. But as Danny Rohl said today, sometimes players can take these opportunities, and that's when they make their mark in the team. Clinton and Ciela back involved too. Dujon Sterling tomorrow might come too soon for him, but I'd expect to see him involved over the course of the next week. And maybe I wouldn't be amazed if it's James Tavernier in at centre back Derek, whether it's a back 3 or a back 4 tomorrow with Max Aarons maybe at right back, given he's a player who hasn't been on international duty and therefore has had a bit of time to work with Danny Rohl over the last week or so at the Rangers training centre.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Incidentally, you can go and watch Danny Rohl's press conference in full over on the YouTube channel, folks. You can also read the full transcript if that's how you prefer to consume your Rangers content over on the website, which leads me nicely on. Of course, we've got that Black Friday offer on at the moment where you can get a full year's subscription for just £12. You will not be let down by the coverage, I can assure you of that. And thank you to the loads of you have taken up the offer since Monday morning. So, very much appreciative of your support. And, enjoy your year's worth of content. If you want to sign up, incidentally, I'll stick the link below this video. So if you haven't signed up already, then go and do so. You have until the 1st of December, Joshua, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes out.
Yeah, a few more days, and which also leads us on nicely to one of the many articles. I feel like a long week, Derek, especially because when Chris Jack is off, everything seems to just function that little bit less smoothly on the Rangers review. But the accounts, we have a hopefully in-depth explainer coming up about 5 o'clock for people, and that gives us maybe a bit of an avenue to discuss what exactly they mean. They're always complex, always a bit confusing to try and dissect, but maybe we can get into a little bit of that before we go and enjoy our Friday nights. Yeah,
it's not my forte, I must admit. But as I mentioned earlier on, Rangers did release their financial accounts a little earlier on, and some interesting takeaways from that. They've recorded record revenues despite recording a loss for the 2nd consecutive year. Now the accounts covering the 2024-25 season, which ends on the 30th of June 2025, they show a record revenue of £94.1 million, which is up 7% on last year's figure of just over £88 million. Now, a pre-player trading profit of £2.7 million was also shown. That's around a £13 million improvement on the accounts from 2 years ago. However, the club lost £14.8 million in their 2nd straight year of losses, albeit it is a slight improvement on the previous year's £17.2 million deficit. So a number of player sales were recorded the post-year end. The likes of Igaman, Dessers, Ridvan, Jefte will be included in next year's accounts. What did you take away from your number crunching, Joshua? What is it? Do supporters have every reason to be optimistic about how the club has been run, or should they be slightly concerned?
It's definitely not my my position of strength either. So I've been on a crash course the last couple of days to understand them, Derek. So we'll speak about it briefly, and if people want a bit more depth, hopefully they can go and read them on the website. I know loads of people do some really good coverage on the accounts. The revenue growth, if we just maybe go through it chronologically, quite often clubs will say record-breaking revenue growth, but it'll be like a 1% incremental rise, and that's maybe just due to inflation. So 7% does merit a bit of attention because it's not nothing. It's up from well under, what was it, 88 million last year, 88.3 to 94.1. And as you rightly say there, this is the accounts, not for the year ending 2025, but for the year ending June 30th, 2025. So it's effectively the accounts for the 2024-25 season. So you're right to identify there that the likes of Jeff Day and Igaman and Dessers, and those sales aren't registered in this accounts. That will be next year, covering this season. However, that also will then take into account the players that Rangers have bought and their net spend this summer, which is, as we understand, to be around £20 million, which will balance out. It's not as if they've got tons and tons of money coming in from this summer with nothing in the way of outlay. The other area that's probably important to note, and it's something that Chris wrote about in the website maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, the pre-player trading profit. The reason that's important is because it's only the second time that Rangers have had that in the positive instead of the negative since they came back up to the Scottish Premiership. And the other year they did that was when they got to the Europa League final. So obviously there was a little bit more incoming at that period of time. A couple of years ago, when that was in the red, so to speak, when it was, I think it was minus 10.5, John Bennett spoke at the Rangers AGM and he said this can't remain this high and we're going to get it down. I believe he saw that as a bit of a mission to get Rangers into a position whereby they were investable. Derek, obviously there's been this real cash injection, but the club's in a better state on this year's accounts compared to a couple of years ago. Even when you look at the wages, which had come down, I think, from 64 million to about 57 million. Year on year, the operating costs were down, if I get that number in front of me, which was 92 million, down from 96 million the year before too. There's an interview in the Rangers release that will give it far more detail to a degree than we can, but also we can look at it from both sides of the coin, which we will do on the website, because those losses are still important to reference. The difference from this time last year is, I think this time last year when you were looking at those accounts and it was a £17 million loss, which was way up on the year before, you were looking at it going, where is the money to spend in January? You know, Rangers only spent 14.9 million on player sales in this year's accounts comparatively to, I think, 22 million the year before the summer rebuild under Michael Beale in that following January. This time around, Rangers sources are saying that they expect the club to be active, fairly active, I think was the word Kevin Thelwell used in that interview recently, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But there has been this equity injection, which is visible in the accounts, and it will not be the last one, as Andrew Kavanagh said. But crucially, what Rangers need to get right is player trading. That's the one avenue they've grown commercial again. They've grown it, I think it was about 4 or 5 million. The ticketing and match day in Europe is always a huge part of these accounts too. Both of those might be a bit of concern because you're not going to make it to the last 16, I don't think, of the quarterfinals of the Europa League this year. And of the revenue that Rangers brought in, 45 million was from matchday tickets, which just shows how much importance it is placed on fans buying tickets and being at the games and how reliant the club are on that factor. But the one thing they've not really got right is consistently is player trading. You could look at last summer and say for the money spent, £14.9 million, that was a success given that they've flipped Hamza Gaman and Jefty for relatively small fees. But you need to do that season upon season. And I think most importantly, Derek, you need to be bringing in those sort of fees while you're still spending low. Rangers didn't spend low this summer. So far, they've not seen the return on those investments, certainly on the park. And that is what I think why they need to invest a bit more in January to strengthen their squad, and why it will be interesting to see what these accounts look like next year, because obviously this was more for, it's not really that much to do with the new regime, is it? This is sort of what they inherited. They've spent a fair bit of money, but the question throughout the season has been and will continue to be, how have you spent that in relation to what sort of success you're getting on the park?
Yeah, Rangers, incidentally, have posted the annual report on their socials, folks. You can go and read that in detail if you want to learn a little bit more. And they've also, Rangers TV sat down with Chief Financial Officer James Taylor, who has explained the report as well. No AGM, of course, this year. Rangers have moved from PLC to a limited company. And I doubt even if there was an AGM, would see some of the shenanigans that went on across the city earlier on today, which was pure cinema for those that enjoy that sort of stuff. But there you go, quite something. As Joshua says, piece coming out at 5 o'clock on that, Joshua, is that right?
Yeah, around about then, and we'll of course. And do you know what, Derek? It's just me tomorrow at the game. Chris is still in his cryo chamber on. Still in his cryo chamber on holiday. Blair is otherwise engaged. You're down the road, so it's just me. So a good friend of the show and Rangers Review member Stevie Clifford is going to be helping me out with the post-match video. But we'll have all your usual content from the game, and then another kind of big week upcoming, isn't it? With 3 games at Ibrox. You think if Rangers can get those 3 wins, Braga's a big ask, but it would breathe a little bit of life into Europe because you're looking at in relation to the accounts, those attendances, the fact that 17 million of the revenue last year came directly from prize money with UEFA, and it looks at the moment like Rangers aren't going to hit that if they go out in the group stage, and then Falkirk at Ibrox as well on the following Sunday. So you'd expect the absolute minimum is 2 wins in the league, but to avoid Europe becoming not a complete non-event, they need to get something against Braga, who incidentally are one of the better teams in the Europa League this season. But because Rangers always seem to beat Braga, I think there will be an expectation that the Rangers do beat Braga again. We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, I hope they do beat Braga, because this is the first time I've been to Ibrox this season. So I'm heading up for the game. It is, I've not been to. Just trying to think if I've actually been. I don't think I've actually been to a game just yet. I missed the entire Russell Martin era. I wasn't fortunate, perhaps I was fortunate not to make along to any of those games. But I'm intrigued to see how they get on. But I've given up Europa League, I've got to be honest. I think that the start has been so dreadful that anything from here on in is a bonus, and you're just looking at prize money. If you can try and get some wins on the board, get some money in the coffers, then happy days on that front. Right, folks, that will do us there. A big thank you to Joshua and to you all for tuning into the show. It's very much appreciated. As I touched on, you can go and watch the press conference from Danny Rohl on the YouTube channel, or you can read it in full over on the website. And as I said, we'll have all your usual coverage from Ibrox tomorrow as Rangers return to action. Do you think they'll win, Joshua, tomorrow? You should look at that on paper. When Johnny was on this morning, I'll tell you what, he is not giving up the title. He says that Rangers could be well back in the race with the run of fixtures on the horizon. Rangers, of course, have got 2 home games. Celtic are away at St Mirren on Saturday night, which isn't easy. They've got Hearts coming up as well, so there's going to be points dropped by one of those teams as a result of that. Do you share Johnny's optimism?
Do I share his optimism? I think that the Rangers have 2 home games, and then they have a few tricky away games, don't they? So what's the gap at the moment to Hearts?
I think it's 12. It's 12 on Hearts, but Rangers have a game in hand. It's 5 on Celtic. Okay.
And then you have Hearts before Christmas. Of course, it's not over at the moment. I still think it's a wee bit early to cast much. But of course it's not over. And really it's all Rangers have to play for apart from the Scottish Cup at the moment. They've started well under Danny Rohl in the league. 3 wins. They've only conceded 1 goal against Kilmarnock. You'd expect them to pick up maximum points over the next couple of games. The word expect in Rangers has not gone together that often in the past 4 years. And there's obviously those injuries too to contend with. But let's see how they go. I'm quite looking forward to watching them tomorrow, which I've not said consistently for a while too, and a couple of home games. I don't think they can ask for a better return after the international break, can they? So I don't think they're out of it. No, I don't think they're out of it yet at all.
Yeah, and just on tomorrow, I'm sticking my neck on the line. Rangers are going to score a goal from a set piece, a well-worked set piece. I put, that's my wagers, come back to me on Monday, and I assure you that's going to happen. I'm certain of it. Before we go, a big warm welcome to EPC Knox Pastor, who's joined as a Rangers Review Extra member. Says thank you for the great deal to join. I appreciate the review, and he's coming, I think, all the way from America, if I'm not mistaken there, sir. So thank you very much for signing up, and hopefully you enjoy the content that we are producing here at the Rangers Review. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Enjoy your Friday, whatever you are up to, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.